can Brock Purdy win the starting job if the 49ers make a serious run? Like, he's the starter going into the offseason. Trey, thank you very much, but you're our backup now. Can that happen?
It can happen if he goes to the Super Bowl. If he goes to the Super Bowl, which is, I think, with the Niners is definitely on the table right now because, with Jimmy, it was like it was always on the table, but I wasn't saying that with so much like bass in my voice confidently. Now with Purdy, it's like, oh hell yeah, they're going
Super Bowl.
they're gonna go all the way.
Yeah.
And if they do go all the way, if they win, I think he's pretty much won it. I think he's pretty much won it. If
they win the Super Bowl, can Kyle be like, yeah, looking forward to this quarterback comp? Like, what are you talking about, man? You just have that's your franchise quarterback. Yeah.
And I think he has, and I think after this year, he has been more validated, vindicated, credited, everything in terms of backup quarterbacks matter. So what he's going to do is, whether he win or lose the Super Bowl with Purdy, is they can even go to the NFC Championship game. They might still give it to him anyways. And they might just say like, hey, look, this is no slight on Trey. Purdy played well. We're going to give him the lead. We're going to give Trey a chance. But ultimately, we went through 3 quarterbacks last year, so that means Trey is going to get a shot. That's what it's going to stand out to be. And you know what? After this year, I think I'm starting to change my tune on backup quarterbacks. It's not just the Niners things now. It's really the NFL thing. I counted, and again, I did this like a week or two ago. 13 teams are missing their starting quarterback, have lost their starting quarterback this year. So almost half the league, dude. That's insane. So, I mean, you consider all that. It's like, man, backup quarterback really is becoming like a very, very.
You need 2 quarterbacks. You got to be 2 deep at quarterback, which is all the more
crazy
reason not to spend $50 million on one unless you have Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen.
Yeah, man, it's just. You just think about it now. Like, now that's saying that cliche. If you got 2 quarterbacks, you have none. It's like, well, now if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no shot at the playoffs. Is what you have now.
If you have 1 quarterback, you might have none. Like, you need 2. You might need 3. Niners are.
I was a big believer in that cliche saying, but now it's like, wait, times are changing. You adapt or die. The times are changing. The same thing for those 4 or 5 years when the read option was going on. It's like, hey, either you get a quarterback who can scramble a lot and mobile a lot, and die with your statue quarterback, or you figure it out. It's literally transitioning now. So I think that's where it's going to look towards if he just gets there. And again, Super Bowl for sure. NFC title game, I definitely think it's possible. So I think I'll go as far as if he just makes the NFC title game, I think he's going to think it's there.
I think he controls his destiny in the sense that it's a stupid phrase, but I think he does in the sense that he's never lost ever, and it's only been a month. But if he wins a Super Bowl, he will be the first rookie to ever win a Super Bowl.
He'll be immortalized in 49ers history.
It'll be immortalized in 49ers franchise history, and he'll still be undefeated. There's no way you're taking the starting job from Brock Purdy. Again, as you pointed out, they could say, we've had a lot of injuries at quarterback. Trey's 1 play away from being right back in there, but forget a quarterback competition. If Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl, it's a joke. He'll have the entire locker room, fan base, franchise in his corner. He will essentially still be pitching a perfect game, man. He's never lost. So we'll have, he controls his destiny in that sense. When he loses a game eventually, we'll talk about what his future is then. But until then, it's his team.
Okay, what happens if they go far, NFC title game, Super Bowl appearance, and even win it, but he's playing like crap? He's playing Jimmy Garoppolo style. Is this still entertainable?
Then it's a discussion. Absolutely. I think that's a really good point because what he's done in the regular season is remarkable, but it ultimately won't win him the job. What's going to win him the job is what he does in the playoffs or lose him the job one way or the other, right? Because we've seen Jimmy do things like this in the regular season, and the big issue with Jimmy was that he couldn't do it in the playoffs. So, Brock, let's see what you got. If he can continue this level of play in the playoffs, hard to take the
standard isn't high for him in the playoffs either because we've seen it.
Right.
It's been trash. I mean, the guy that went for 8 passing attempts in the NFC title game. I get that Mostert was on a Hall of Fame level game, but you had 8 pass attempts.
8 and 6 completions.
That's absurd.
The crazy thing is, if Brock struggles in the playoffs, what's interesting is the Niners might not say, okay, let's go back to Trey. They could say, let's call up Tom Brady, depending on what he does, because he is the GOAT. At least that's what they said. When they were getting ready to play the Bucks a few weeks ago, the way they talked about it, what Kyle Shanahan said, what was anyone thinking? Not wanting Tom Brady. The way they all lined up to shake his hand after the game, and the way he hung around to meet everyone, it just felt like people that were thinking, hey, we might be colleagues next year. Maybe. Let's just get to know each other. So I still think that's on the table. But again, Brock can silence all this by just continuing to do what he's done. And I think he can do it. I don't know. Do you think he's going to fall apart? Why don't you tell Niner fans why you think Brock Purdy is going to totally fall apart in the playoffs? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Who knows? We'll see.
I just think I'm going to bet that he's not going to. He's just not going to. And I think because we've already seen him in these high pressurized games where he's been tested. It kind of reminds me, we're talking about comparing this team to 2019. I remember in 2019 getting asked remember the critique. This team storming apart. Their first time playoff contending team. They're going to crack in the first or second round because then people said they didn't play anyone. And it's they're not experienced, but they've already been in those high pressurized moments, games, playoff atmospheres. That they've pretty much been multiple. Brock Purdy's been in that. He stepped in the fold in the Miami game, which pretty much was a playoff atmosphere. We saw Tua crack. Brock Purdy didn't. He played against the Bucks in a playoff team. He needed to win playoff atmosphere. Then the ultimate one, short week, prime time, division team. You hate hostile environment with the division on the line, and you're injured. He stepped up. He showed great toughness, and I think all that he showed is transferable. It can translate over to the playoffs. His toughness, his fearlessness, his poise, the way he moves his legs. He might end up shanking some throws, but I think that's one thing that's going to sustain itself and translate over.
And one thing, I think people look at him as kind of like a game manager because he's small and doesn't have a strong arm. And he hasn't thrown for 300 yards yet. But in his games that he's played, 33 points, 35 points, 21 points, 37 points. The Niners all of a sudden are a juggernaut on offense with this kid at quarterback. And I think what's interesting is right now, the unit that shows the most vulnerability to me is the defense. In the Miami game, in the Washington game, their secondary was giving up open receivers, and Tua missed them. Tyler freaking Heineke and Carson Wentz hit him. And I'm curious, if the Niners don't win the Super Bowl, which could happen, is it going to be because of their offense or their defense? Is it going to be because their offense can't score, or are they going to have some game in the playoffs where Dak Prescott lights them up? You know what I mean? I'm curious. Right now, I'm actually feeling like the defense is showing more vulnerability than the offense, but maybe I'm tripping. I don't know.
Yeah, it was never in pretty much their run defense. I always kind of thought it was that's where they're most susceptible. End? Because who's really tested Talanoa Hufanga like that?
Exactly. Lenore. Who really tested Lenore like that? No one until this last week. And it was Washington was
Marcus Mariota.
We got Zahan Dotson. We got freaking Terry McLaurin. Why not? We're probably going to lose anyway. Why not? So you go up against a team that has T.Y. Hilton, CeeDee Lamb, or Justin freaking Jefferson, A.J. Brown. They're going to go to work on Diamador Lenore. No offense to Diamador. But, he hasn't really seen what's coming his way in the playoffs yet. He got a little preview, but that's what it's going to be like. They're going to be relentless in the playoffs going after him and Hufanga. So I'm curious to see how that – this was supposed to be a Brock Purdy topic, but – yeah, I'm just curious. I guess the point is, dude, what he's doing with the offense is remarkable. All of a sudden, it's like a freaking the greatest show on grass, and he can win the job if he makes a serious run because the offense is for the first time in Kyle's tenure here, it's finally living up to the talent on the field. Finally, just saying.
I would say that. You mentioned who'd you mention? You did mention the Kirk Cousins, but I think the reason why offenses aren't even challenging the Niners that way vertically as much is because offensive
they can't block Nick Bosa. They can't block Nick Bosa.
Well, that too is just I don't trust my offensive line. I don't trust anyone. Yeah. Is the quarterback going to get there? And am I really going to run this play on the off chance that we're going to get that pass off in the first?
Can we hold the ball long enough to get the ball down the field? Are we okay taking the incomplete pass and falling behind the chains, all that stuff? Yeah, I get it.
And this is why I'm really fearful of the Eagles if the Niners ever face them because Jalen Hurts, mobility and he's got an arm. He has beautiful touch. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Zach Goddard. I saw this stat right before we hopped on. The Eagles have one of the highest. No, they had the second highest. The second highest big play was 20 plus yards in the league, 58. 58, 20 plus receptions. So that's the team that you're going to be scared of for sure if you're going to face in the playoffs.
See, like Kirk Cousins, I feel like is made to order for the Niners pass
Where are
rush.
they at?
You can't get away from Nick Bosa. Also, Joe Burrow, if the Niners face Cincinnati, like they're going to sack him a million times. But someone like Hurts, to your point, Josh Allen. So he almost would seem impervious. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see what the Niners pass rush would do with Allen because he could get away. Mahomes, we've seen it. So those are my questions. But yeah,
and I think to tie it all into Purdy on the last step is if that does crack, okay, Purdy, what do you got? Can you win a shootout? Because again, this is where it goes circle back to the quarterback. This is what Shanahan traded up for Trey Lance for. This is why they moved off of Garoppolo. It's like we need more than a game manager now.
Right.
It's time to step up.
And to be fair, the dude, they're putting up hella points with Purdy because all of a sudden he's hitting touchdowns down the field.
That's always been there. That's always been there.
Exactly. Let's step back for a second. So the Niners went on a run last year in spite of Jimmy, and we talked about this. Some people didn't agree. But what made the Niners offense special last year was the ability to score touchdowns from far out by handing to Debo. It was crazy. They were at the 25, handed Debo touchdown. Consistently. And that was, you need that. You can't just have to be at the 5-yard line to score a touchdown. You got to be able to score from far out. And they couldn't in the passing game. But last year and in 2019, they had Mostert in 2019 who could score from far out. Debo last year. Now all of a sudden, it's Purdy. It ain't Debo. It was Ray for that one play. That was great. But it's freaking Purdy, man. He's got 6 touchdowns of 25 yards or more, which is tied with Mahomes for the league lead. And he's only played 4 games. This has changed everything because defenses are giving it up. They're like, hey, man, the Niners don't throw down the field. Psych. Yes, they do now. It's wide open, too. And now George Kittle's getting 2 touchdowns a game. So, yeah, man, Purdy can definitely win. But, again, I'd like to see if defenses catch up. Because we haven't really talked about this, but teams have no idea what to do with Brock Purdy. They're putting 6 on the line. They're not respecting his arm. They're trying to stop the run, which frankly is not. It's not a dominant run game right now.
Thank you. Okay,
it's like,
go ahead, do that.
Doing so to me. What I would do with Brock Purdy, I would not play 8 in the box. I would not put 6 on the line. I would put 2 deep, but not super. See, this is what I would do. This is what Fangio used to do a lot with the Niners. 2 deep safeties, but put them 9 yards off the ball. It's like a 9-yard. It's like a 9-man box. Like you want him to. You kind of want him to try to throw deep down the middle because that's where I want to see where his arm strengths are.
Have that last defender hedge so you can kind of like pick which side he's going to really commit to.
But don't play an 8-man box, 2 deep safeties, but kind of bring him 9 yards off the ball and see if they can run on that. See if they can, throw play action passes on that. That's what I'd like to see. Because teams haven't done that yet. I mean, teams are playing like, what are you doing, man? Watch this film. This is
Defense is probably better off making the Niners run anyways because the Niners don't have home run capability in the running game. I mean, McCaffrey is always It's always there, but it's definitely less likely without Debo. It's less likely without Debo right now.
Their offensive line is better at pass blocking than run blocking for the first time in Kyle Shanahan's tenure. People aren't studying this team. They don't know. They're coming here trying to stop the run. Like, dude, the run will stop itself. I'm sorry. That's how they've done it. That's how they've been this year. They will play action you to death. McCaffrey, he's not Roger Craig, but he's the best receiving running back the Niners have had since Ricky freaking Waters. He's really good. I was saying, who does he remind me of? He's like Reggie Bush, but better, is how I would have to say. He's Reggie Bush, but you can give him the ball 25 times in a game if you have to, which you really couldn't do with Reggie.
Which I'm kind of happy that Kyle Shanahan didn't run him to the ground the last game. We were a little afraid of that, and they actually tapered down his usage. I don't know. I think your run blocking point is true on that because McCaffrey, every game I'm seeing his stats, he's always averaging 3-point yards per carry. And look, he's better back than that. I'm not going to give him all his faults.
Right.
It might be part of his fault. I think it's always going to be part of someone's fault when your stats are that bad. But I feel like every time
if you stack the box against him, I mean, he's not that kind of guy who's just going to like power through for 5 yards.
Yeah, no, he's not powerful.
Jordan Mason's that guy. Elijah Mitchell is that guy. That is not. What's so great about Christian McCaffrey is if you stack the box against him, you just throw it to him. There's no reason to hand it to Christian McCaffrey and be like, hey, man, go run it. No, the whole thing is that you can beat him in another way. I like Christian McCaffrey. He's a hell of a player. But with him in the game, the Niners are a play-action passing team, and teams don't know it. They haven't figured it out. It's the most obvious thing in the world. I think in the playoffs, I just feel like teams are more prepared in the playoffs. NBA too.
Because they're all locked in.
Yeah, man. I mean, like the Washington Commanders, you flew all the way across the country to give up 37 points to Brock Purdy. Like, you had no idea what you were. Jack Del Rio, I love you, man. But, dude, did you not know about Brock? You could have called me, man. I would have told you.
DDR stinks.
Man, I actually thought he was really good. But his defensive game plan was like Jimmy was the quarterback. Because when Jimmy was the quarterback, the offense was run, 10-yard pass, run, 10-yard pass, run, 10-yard pass. And he never would throw down the field. He wouldn't do play action. It was easy to defend. Now that is not the Niners offense at all. You know, it's kind of amazing. And teams are like so surprised. Oh my God, bootleg? Yeah.
That's why playoff football is so much better because it's guaranteed teams, or almost guaranteed, should be locked in. Whereas, look, we just saw the Niners. It wasn't surprising to me that they weren't locked in the first half. Why? Because you had all this time off, coming off that huge high of building yourself up to be locked in against your hated division rival with the division title on the line. And then you're going to come on a huge roller coaster down to go face the Commanders. And it's like, you know
was
what?
it 7-7? Was it 7-7 at halftime?
Move my needle to me.
Was it 7-7 at halftime?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
They kicked
boring.
Their asses in the second half. That was a little bit like the Warriors. That the Warriors do is they used to do is just kind of mess around for a half and then blow you away. All right, we got to stop with this topic because it's been going on for like a half an hour.